Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Nice joining you, Mr. Kisting.
Governor, it's a very difficult time for Namibia and her people. What is your perspective on that reality?
So your line is cutting up, or is it mine?
It is a very difficult time for Namibia and her people, Governor. What is your take on that reality?
Yeah, Kisting, it's indeed a very, very difficult time for Namibia. And I can compare it with any particular household. When the head of the house is no longer there, then you are left orphans. Now, President Nujoma, being the father of the nation and being our father by extension, all Namibians, and him being no more there is devastating. It's leaving us as orphans. It's leaving us in a position where we do not really know where to take and where to live. But luckily for us, is that we have a beautiful succession in our country, and he was long succeeded, and we basically know that we are in safe hands. We are in hands of people that he groomed, people that he mentored, people in whom he implanted his own thoughts and his own ideology and the vision for this country and its people. So indeed, it's a period of mourning, and we are mourning a great man and an icon and an elderly statesman and one of the founder fathers of the republic, the republics within Southern Africa, and in this instance, Namibia.
Thank you, Governor. Now, President Nujoma was known as the father of the Namibian nation on account of his role regarding the independence of this country. Please walk us through that important role that he played to liberate Namibia.
Kisting, the one thing that we always must know as people is that there is a point where people will point at you, and then God will appoint you. Now, it's very, very interesting how when we follow the life of President Nujoma, that a boy born in a village at Tunda happened to be sent out on a mission to go look after his sick aunt, and that landed him eventually into working for the railway and meeting his wife, meeting his teacher, Kashimune, and by extension then meet his wife and become involved in politics and in trying to overthrow a system that was very enslaving and that was dehumanizing people, the contract workers, and eventually landed, for example, within the proximity of a giant of a man like Chief Hosea Kutako. And President Nujoma would always tell you that Chief Hosea Kutako have already laid his hands on him and that he did not want anyone else to lay his hands on him, since he believed that the prayer of Hosea Kutako was enough and those blessings were enough. Now, if you hold up to something like that happened long ago, and you treasured it in such a way, it tells us about the type of character and type of person President Nujoma was, someone who believes, someone who's loyal, someone who's not wavering, someone with determination of saying, what's my cause? And until I have reached what I've set myself to reach for the benefit of all. And also when you look too consistently, even when he addresses his own household, he will always end his sentence, his speech with a people united for the striving for the common good of all people will always emerge victorious. That tells you that this person really believed in this ideology, that unity of purpose, as you would always call it, was basically the key word if you want to move forward and if you want to move people. And also, like typically the Chinese thing that says if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with others. And I believe President Nujoma believed in going with others. And that's why he could, for example, keep a team of young men and women, get them educated, get them through things, prepare them properly, and know that they would one day take over from him, And that's what leadership is. You make other people better than you, or you make other people also to believe in your ideology. You influence them. And those are remarkable things. And some of us were lucky, Kisting, to have been in the company of Nujoma, sharing the same house and waking up in the morning and having breakfast with him. And it was a man that was very, very rich in the history of Namibia. And he could remember places, he could remember dates, he could remember the smallest particular, how many people were at that meeting and what was said. This is the type of man I have come to know, and the type of man that did not regard any task whatsoever as too small or too big for him to do. And one typical example, when I was mayor of Kombawas in 1994, President Nujoma, we invited him to come and open a kindergarten, a creche, within the colored community. By then it was the colored township, although I was also living there. It was called the colored township. But he never regarded that task as a simple task. He came in his full glory as president, opened that event, spent time with the community, and the community fell in love with his way of doing things. And that's the type of man that he was, that he could always mobilize people, always having people around him and having people share in his ideology and his vision.
Governor, thank you so much for sharing that very memorable incident. Now, Namibia has produced multiple leaders, but what distinguished Sam Nujoma from the other leaders that this country produced?
I think Sam Nujoma cannot be compared to any leader, as much as we have very good leaders in Namibia as well, because Sam Nujoma was first in all things. And I mean, spending 29 years in exile, driving SWAPO as a political party to the level of a government of a country, himself basically become a president of a country in exile and not being regarded as a political party leader, but as a leader of a country, and be given the necessary recognition by all those giants like Julius Nyerere, Robert Mugabe, them. He was just something else. Sam Nujoma was just something else. He has achieved what so many of us can only dream of. And having people in exile, some of them dying, and some of them getting frustrated, wanting to come back, and always trying to instill that hope and expectation that one day, as one of the people I've listened to said, that he said always that we will be meeting at the outskirts of Windhoek. And look where Sam Nujoma today lives, at the outskirts of Windhoek. So he was so clear, so definite, so deliberate in whatever he was doing. He did not only say words, but he said words and added action to it. And today, all the things that he have mentioned, like Namibia will be free and will never be colonized again, and that we will defeat the South African troops and all those who are behind it. It happened. All those things happened. And for a leader to really to keep instilling hope in people, it's not easy, because we know all that the vision is shared by one, but then a number of people have to join that vision. And it's not all of us that have that vision and that can rally people behind our vision and make this vision their own. For example, that we can all talk today of a one Namibia, one nation, and we all today can quote President Sam Nujoma on his unity, and we all say it, and it because we have seen the produce. So it was very much unique, also unique in the sense that when it was uncommon for people to intermarry, he married his Shiroro-speaking wife while he was a Shuambo speaking. He could infiltrate and penetrate all types of formations that were there without being deterred that this is a no-go area. Sam Nujoma did not know a no-go area. And also going to the extent that to be blessed by a Shirero traditional head, although Steve Oseakutako, again, also in his uniqueness, was a unifier and did not see people on the basis of color or tribe, And these people, whenever they see tribe as less important and the nation is very important, that is what distinct good leaders from others.
Now, Governor, after this country attained its independence and we established a government, we had to shift gears in terms of the future of this democracy. Talk to us about President Nujoma's vision for Namibia post-independence and how we continue to give effect to that vision up to today.
Yeah. No, I think it's true that President Nujoma was not in any way unclear about economic emancipation. That he was very clear on. He was also not very unclear about that the resources of this land should be shared by all Namibians. He was also not unclear about the issue of breaking the chain of generational poverty. These are things that haunted him. And also when he was talking about land, he would always make the example of Shiv Maharero, who would have scooped sand in a bucket and want to give it to the settlers when they were asking for land. He was very clear that land was not tradable in Namibia, that land belonged to Namibians, and that the resources of this country should benefit the people living in it, and also the people beyond it who are in Africa. He was very clear that we are just one country, one big continent, that is basically one country, and that we should open our doors for our brothers and sisters who yesterday have also opened their doors for us. Sam Nujoma was very clear that economic emancipation must take place. And today, in our Namibia of 35 years old, we have been making steps towards the realization of economic emancipation. But we are not yet there. But we have made quite good strides. And now what is moving forward means is to cement those gains and to deliberately coming up with programs that will give realization also to the notion of Nyerere, that in every country there are enough resources to feed the country, the people of that country, but that the distribution of those resources, that's where the problem is. And I'm happy also that our president-elect is of the opinion that Namibians are too few to be poor. We have so many resources, and we need now to be inspired by the spirit of Sam Nujoma and say, we must emancipate, we must free our people. Unless they're economically freed, they won't be free. And it's a sad story that after independence, we still see levels of poverty, levels of homelessness. But it's also upon us, like myself as governor, who have been put in this position, not to see to that our people are really enjoying the fruit of independence. Those were his words. People must enjoy the fruit of independence. So I think as a country, we have made strides. We have beautiful roads. We have beautiful infrastructure. We have peace in this country. But now we must capitalize on the peacefulness that we have in this country and the calmness that the country is having and the beautiful economic environment that the country is having for investment and make sure that in everything we are a step ahead and deliberately we are implementing programs that are aimed at making our people economically free.
Governor, do you have any final thoughts for your people of Omaheke and the Namibian nation at large, please?
Now, the other thing, that is also very, very particular to me and that stood out is the humility of Sam Nujoma. Sam Nujoma was a very, very humble person. As I said that I accommodated him, and many times when I sit and say and ask myself questions about what type of bed did I really have to let Nujoma sleep on that bed? What type of bed could I have as a normal teacher with a teacher's salary? But yet he would be sleeping in my house. And yet when he's in my house, he was not taking over my house. He was still recognizing the role that I have as head of this house. And he did not try to push us around that now we must be absolutely quiet, we must behave differently. And that humility in Sam Nujoma should inspire all of us, including especially also my people in the region. We must become humble. And we must also know chronology, that all of us cannot go first at the same time, that someone must go first and someone else must follow. And that goes also to the rest of Namibia, that even in terms of succession, in terms of giving each other opportunities, there must be a first person and then a second one. We cannot all of us storm out of the same door at the same time. So my thoughts also to the Namibians, let us resonate with the mantra, the aspirations that Sam Nujoma had, own them, make them our own. And as much as all of us are talking about this very unique person, that should be the lessons that we should adopt and make it part of our day-to-day living styles. If we do not do that, his death will be in vain. And also, if we can preserve the peace and the quiet in this country and the harmony that in this country, Sam Nujoma's death, Sam Nujoma's working all the time will be in vain. As Namibians, we must join hands, take each other's hands, and move together as brothers and sisters, and do away with regionalism, tribalism, ethnicity, and my tribe is more superior than yours, or I am more superior than mine. Let us all sit at the table of brotherhood and break the bread and all have a share in the bread that is being broken. And I thank you very much, Denver, and I also want to pray that Namibia will really console our nation. And very, very remarkable is that Sam Nujoma stood close to his wife for 68 years. They were married. And I believe that the foundation of good societies should start at home. If we do not have stable households, stable homes, we can never have stable societies. And we should also be focused like Sam Nujoma was focused. And I'm saying this, that if you look to the average man in my time, including myself, we are not that focused. But he was so focused that to him was the independence of this country and the people of this country and nothing more. Everything else was second to him. And I want to thank also Meme Kovambo Nujoma for having shared a husband with the rest of the nation and also the children. And they are all such humble people. From Utoni to Sake, the ones that I have come across, they're such humble people who fit at any place. And when we grow up our children, we must grow them, not for ourselves, but for society. They must be ambassadors.
Thank you, Governor.
Of us. Thank you very much.
Okoe Passionene, Governor. That was the first citizen of the great Omaheke, Governor Pijoo Nganate, with a very important clarion call to Namibians that we need to emulate the example of President Sam Shafishuna Nujoma, an example of humility. You are tuned in to a